Kettlebell Drenga. Rating season is upon us. The battle for the title of North American champion returns to the Twin Cities for the 2024 WKSF North American Championship. Register today for your chance to fight for glory and claim your spoils. Registration is available now for only $80 with raffle prizes for all competitors and the opportunity to win cash prizes for the top performers. We will be back at the Athlete Lab in Little Canada, Minnesota on Saturday, September 28th, and accepting video submissions for online competitors. Go to TwinCitiesKettlebellClub.com to register today. Come, answer the call of battle. Join us and fight for your clan, fight for yourself, and claim your spoils and your glory. And may your name forever ring out in the Hall of Champions. Sign up today at TwinCitiesKettlebellClub.com. All right, welcome into this week's episode of the Platform Podcast. I am your host, Jordan Kundi Wright, and I am very excited to introduce my guest, Val Rusk. She is a Canadian kettlebell sport athlete and coach who recently competed at the WKSF World Championships in Poland. Val, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Jordan. Glad to be here.
So, first, tell us a little bit about the WKSF World Championships. I'm curious, how did it go, and are you happy with your performance? We'll start with your performance before we talk about Team Canada.
All right, cool. Yeah, it was a very well run competition. It was a lot of fun. I competed in the 20K biathlon, which is the elite division. It was my first time in that division. I got second place, which I'm happy I got second. Overall, I'm not super happy with my numbers. I could have done better. I've done better in practice, but I also know that traveling, to the other side of the other side of the world, the time change, time of day, different bells, all those things. I'm never going to do my best at Worlds, but I still feel like I could have got 20 more jerks in. So that's a little bit frustrating, but I'm glad I scraped by to get second.
So what event did you compete in biathlon?
Yeah, I'm biathlon.
Okay, cool. So what were your numbers? We'll add 20 to them in our minds so that we know what we're targeting. But what were your numbers on the platform?
Oh geez, I want to say 63 jerks and 145 snatch.
Okay. And what weight class are you in?
75 kilo.
Okay. This is the only context in which I ask people what they weigh. Because it is a weight class sport, so I at least feel like it's a fair question.
Mm-hmm.
So you're in
it
the
does
70,
make a difference. Yeah.
You're in the 75 kg weight class, and you said was it 68? You said, I'm sorry.
Something in the 60s, 63, I think.
Oh, 63. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, and you were targeting more
90. I was targeting 90.
Okay.
I would have been happy with 80,
Yeah.
So that one kind of stung, but it I'll just say it just wasn't my day. It wasn't what it could have been, but I'm glad I scraped through there.
And where was it at in Poland specifically? I can't pronounce the name of the town, so I'm going to make you do.
Yeah, you don't pronounce any R's or Z's or W's. Rzeszów.
Rzeszów. Okay, Rzeszów, Poland. Okay. And and with biathlon, was it jerk one day and then snatch the next day, or was it jerk and snatch on the same day?
Yeah, an hour apart.
An hour apart.
It was like that last
exactly an hour, right? Like they're like,
yeah.
Cool. And I have heard and seen, because I was watching, like the super cool kid that I am, I was watching live streams
awesome
of people doing their sets. So I've heard that the judging was stringent, is what we'll say. It was strict. Did you have any no counts? And there's no shame if you did, but did you have any no counts because of the judging, or did you have to adjust at all because of the judging standards that you were seeing?
Yeah, and I knew this. I did biathlon last year in amateurs with the 16s, and I had the same thing where they were holding me up a lot longer than I was used to, and my arms were getting tired, and I wasn't quite used to that.
Was it in
So
both jerk and snatch?
uh, for me, it's jerk. I'm still working on getting my arms quite parallel at the top. So it's jerk that I struggle with more, just having two arms up. But yeah, like my set fell apart, I think, when I was starting to get the warnings, and then they were giving me warnings, and that extra judge was standing staring at me. I'm like, oh my god, they're just waiting to no count me. I think I got one or two, but those ones were fair, right? Like they were near the end, and
Yeah.
I wasn't locked out. But they were just holding me there longer than I wanted to. It hurt.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing like no counts are one of the hardest things I think from a like this is already a really mentally challenging sport, and
Mm-hmm.
like no counts are super hard. At the end of a set, they don't really throw you off nearly as much, but if you get one like in the middle of your set, like that for me that like spins me out because then you're like your pacing's all off, like you make the like if you do like I have done when I will say I haven't gotten no counted in a while, thankfully, but that's because I learned the very painful lesson of like no counts in the middle of your set are
Mm-hmm.
like the worst because then I was like, oh, I've got to make up a rep, which was the worst possible response to getting a no counted rep. Is just like you just move on and like stay on your pace until hopefully you make it up at the end. But
Yeah.
I wasn't experienced enough at that point to know that. But so they all came at the end, so it didn't really
Yeah.
throw you off all that much with the no counts.
No, I don't find I get them that much with the 20s. Last year with the 16s, and I haven't the 16s in the past because I'm going faster. I
Hmm.
tend to get them more. Especially with snatch. Like I think last year I wanted to get like 220 snatch at World, which is an unrealistic goal. Yeah. I
That's
think I got
that's that's
204.
blistering. Yeah.
And my hands are fine. But
No, no, I
like
just meant
they
the
slow
pace
you
is
down.
blistering. Not that your hands are actually blistering. Like that's just a blisteringly fast pace, especially at like world caliber judging. Like that's like 22 is pushing the fringe of what they will count for
They
fixation.
don't let you do it. They don't let you do it. They slow
Yeah.
you down, and they were giving me warnings and no counts all over the place. And I looked at my video. I'm like, that's fine. Like I would slow down and speed up and speed up, and then they'd be like, no, and I'd slow down and speed up and speed up. But with a 20, I just don't have that option really. There's a pace, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. What was your target pace on snatch
The
with the 20?
snatch, I would go 18 reps per minute on my left and 19 on my right,
Okay.
something like that. Yeah.
And do you start with your right or do you start with your left? This is
I
always a
start
point
with
of contention.
I start with my left. I like finishing on my right. I cannot squat snatch on my left. So I
Mm,
find to just get that better finish, and I don't want to do those. And like, I want to wait till the very end to do that. And I'm sure
yeah.
you've done it before. You know how much it,
Yeah.
it hurts the traps. So I like to start. I've been playing around with a little bit, but I like to start with my left. At Worlds this year, I did switch at the 4 minute mark, kind of thinking I thought I'd already messed up my set, right? Like I was like, I'm
Yeah.
not going to kill myself. And there was a lot, you saw the live stream, eh? There was a lot of dropped bells during
Yes.
snatch.
Yes,
It
there
was a
were.
slippery handle. Wasn't great chalk, and I was worried about dropping it on my first arm. In my training, I have a habit of like when I'm about to fail snatch, it kind of goes halfway up and would fall on my shoulder and go down.
Hmm.
I'm unclear if that's a stop set or not. I asked the judge when I took the judging course, and he said it was, even though it's your first hand. I'm not sure. I'm still not sure. It might have been a
Uh,
language barrier. I've seen it. I've never been
yeah,
called on that
I think
before.
that's a man on your first side. That should be a mandatory switch because it touched your body. And then if you
Yeah,
touch your body again, then it's a stop set. That would be my understanding, but I am not a
same.
WKSF world judge. So
That
we'll
was mine too, but I directly asked the question and they said stop set. So I'm like, I'm not sure if he knows what I'm talking about, but I'm also not going to risk it because that would
okay.
be very little reps if I got
Yeah,
stop set there. So
yeah,
I
for
I
sure.
switched right when I thought I would have to go into squat snatch on my left. But I wouldn't have got that many more reps in anyways.
So do you typically go 4 and 6, or was
No,
that
I
just
go
a
5 and 5.
you go 5 and 5, but it was
Mhm.
just a erring on the side of caution because you don't want to lose it. Like I tend to agree with your philosophy on like I always want my weaker hand to be what dictates when the switch happens,
Mhm.
because then I know what I need to do with my stronger hand, and I'm always much more likely to get 6 minutes out of my right hand than if I did it the other way around and like tried to push for 6 minutes, but then I feel like I'm struggling or my technique is getting crappy, and then I switch. I'm like, oh shit, I don't have enough. I don't have the rest of the time on my left hand. Like I like to I tend to like to start with my non-dominant hand. I don't do it all. I switch in practice. Like I intentionally vary which hand I start with in practice, but at competitions I almost always default to my left hand first.
Yeah, I've thought about switching, like practicing it, but I always forget to do it. Like I'll be warming up and like, okay, today you start with your right, and then I'm in my set, like I start with my left.
You just
Whatever.
you're on autopilot. You've done your warm up, and
I
like
think I'm set in my ways. Yeah.
the muscle memory just takes over. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
is it common for you to have two different paces, one for each hand?
Yeah. Yeah. My right's always been a lot stronger. My grip's better. It's I don't know. It feels like a different person.
That is spoken like a kettlebell veteran there. That it does, there definitely that feeling sometimes. Do you try and even up in practice, or I guess the question is that a comp day specific strategy and you don't do that in practice, or do you do that in practice as well, where you hold a higher pace with your right hand than you do with your left hand?
I usually have the same target. So I in practice, if I'm doing the same pace, I'm probably holding back a little bit on my right.
Okay.
Right. Like so I mean I can always do more on my right, but my snatch sets tend to be shorter and heavier during the week. And then my long one, I'm always gonna do more on my right.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try and always keep it even in practice for that because I don't want to exacerbate the difference, if that makes sense,
Hmm.
right? Like I don't want to be like, yeah, I'm gonna go 20 RPMs on my right hand and I'm gonna go 18 on my left, and then I look like one of those arm wrestling people that has like one arm that's huge and the other one's like dinky. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that person. I try and keep it even. So I think that
Hmm.
I think that makes sense. So what was of all of the challenges that you enumerated earlier, what was kind of the biggest challenge for you, either mentally or physically? Well, let's start first with, we'll say mentally, what was your biggest challenge?
Uh, for me, I'm such a creature of routine, and I love I don't love it, but I mean my life dictates my schedule, and I always wake up early, work out. I'm at the gym by 6. Into it by 6:30 a.m. So
Oh,
that's how I am all the time. I'm always wake up and go. And I started to realize this might be an issue the week of that my set was 4:30 p.m. and 5:30 p.m. And like I was kind of feeling it a few days before. I'm like, oh geez, I'm lifting this time tomorrow and I feel like I could nap right now.
yeah.
Like it's a very low energy time of day for me.
Yeah, for sure. Very different circadian rhythm.
Yeah, and my sleep was off, which is it's always off when I do competitions. I mean, last year I didn't sleep at all, and I managed. But it's different when it's 4 p.m. because it's sometimes when you don't sleep and it's first thing in the morning. It's kind of like you don't have time to be tired yet.
Yeah, you can run on adrenaline for in that
Yeah,
early phases.
yeah, yeah. But it was so late in the day, and my sleep. I wasn't jet lagged. Like I came earlier to the comp country than I did in previous years because I've had this issue. But I'd have a day where I sleep nothing at all, and then I slept well, and then I sleep until noon. But like my sleep schedule was all off that week, even though I was trying to kind of adjust to the local time. So
Yeah.
I think those things. So my coach suggested that next year, like I think going forward, like if I'm elite, I'm probably going to be lifting in the afternoon. That's kind of a fair assumption.
Yeah.
And then I should just 2 weeks before just only train in the afternoon and start it earlier and get used to like being active later in the day because you have to change everything you eat too. Like
Yeah.
it's everything, and I underestimated that for sure. So I think that was a big piece of it.
Okay. And did that get into your head mentally, or was it more just physical manifestation, or did you like perseverate on it a little bit or
No,
fixate on it?
I'm pretty good. I'm pretty like I don't get worked up. It takes a lot to get me worked up over things. So I'm pretty calm, but I could feel the lack of energy.
Mm.
Even though I had a whole pre workout and I wasn't getting that like you know, that caffeine
You're
kick
like,
from
this
it.
caffeine ain't kicking, man.
It wasn't kicking. And I'm like, I don't know what I need to do right now to get that energy I usually have before I work out, because I don't have it right now. So I knew it, and I was like warming up, and I was like, I don't know what I need to do. But sometimes you hit the platform and things just happen. So I wasn't sure.
Yeah. So what would you say went well for you? Like what did you feel, what were your highlights? What did you feel good about from your own performance?
I mean, I looking at my videos, I am happy with my form. Like I watched them. I'm like, I look good up there. Like I look like I know what I'm doing. I'm at least
You always look competent up there. You look smooth. Like and I'm like I don't say that to everybody. Like you always look smooth. Your snatch technique is very, very smooth. Like you always look
Mhm.
you I don't want to say comfortable, but like as comfortable, you look as comfortable as a human can look going, 18, 19 RPMs with a bell that is a pretty significant portion of their body weight.
Yeah, exactly. So I was happy with that. I didn't feel like I don't know. I was happy with it. Like it's all I could do that day, right? Like I didn't feel like I left anything on the table. Like I didn't, you know what I mean? I went until I think my last few reps, I just couldn't get them up anymore, right? So
Yeah.
it wasn't like I made a mistake. And snatch, of course, I don't think I mentioned this earlier, but I started with snatch. So I did snatch only for many years.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and then I started last year was my first year doing, I did biathlon at Worlds last year, and I'd only done my first biathlon, like first jerks I started maybe 9 months earlier,
Okay.
like less than a year. So I'm less than 2 years even doing jerks. So just even getting up there and getting the 20s that quickly, I did not think I would be. So that's good.
And
And
the
I'm yeah.
are the 20s heavy enough for you to hit MS, or do you have to move to the 24s to hit MS?
I don't know how, like I mean there's so many different ranking tables. In my mind it has to be 24s. Um I probably still look at the IUKL ranking tables, or the ones in Canada definitely have, they don't have 20s on there at all.
I'm checking.
It depends on which ones you look at, right? But when I
I'm
say
looking at
yeah.
the WKSF/AKLU Unity table here. So we'll take a look here. Is we got to get to biathlon though. Let's let's see. You can hit MS on the 20s, but you have to get 154 points.
Oh, that's not unreasonable.
Yeah, so that's gotta be reassuring, right? Like
Yeah, if I hit my
that's not that
targets,
far off. Yeah, if you hit 90 on your jerks, like you're golden, right? Like if
if
you
I
hit
hit 90 on my jerks, I would have hit that easily. Yeah. So
yeah,
that number would have been in around. Oh, that's.
not to
I,
rub
I think I
salt,
think
not
my
to rub
points
salt in
were.
the wound here, but sorry.
I don't
Sorry.
know. I'm still, when I say I'm going for master of sport, I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be working on 24 kilo snatch, which I've been kind of doing as well.
Yeah.
So that'll be
Now,
this year
how
sometime.
does your pacing strategy change with the 24 kilo as opposed to the 20 kilo?
Oh, it's okay. So I had my first attempt at 24 kilo snatch back in January. It was rough. It's for me. It's very hard to snatch slowly,
Yeah.
right?
I can imagine that I mean, a sprinter with, I mean,
Yeah.
18 RPMs is relatively slow for you. You're typically 20 plus.
Well, what kills me is holding overhead,
Yeah.
right? Like it really kills me. So to put that into perspective, I think I lasted 8 minutes and 30 seconds with the 24 kilo snatch. I got maybe 108 reps. I can hit 100 reps in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So that extra 3 minutes, I got 4 reps. Like, but like I was going 13 reps per minute, right? I was going for 130.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really, like, just holding the bell for that long, I underestimated how much of a toll that would take on me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of lat stability, like a lot of lat activation,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of shoulder stabilization. And that is one of those things that I think is really hard to understand until until you've gotten yourself to a weight that is hard, like that it's hard for you to go at your usual pace, like, because if you tried to do that at 18 rpms, you'd be dying, right, and your grip would go, right, but then it's like, but then so then you're like, okay, I gotta slow down, and then it's like, oh, but now I have to stabilize this thing overhead, and
Mhm.
that's a whole other different game. And so there's
Yeah.
yeah, there's definitely it's like bouncing back and forth into the walls while driving a NASCAR. It's just not an enjoyable experience, especially the first time, but I'm sure you'll find your groove. It's just it just takes a little training.
Yeah, I didn't train a whole lot for that one, to be honest. Like it was supposed to be a fun lift. I told my coach, this competition's mid-January. I really don't want to train anything. It's right after Christmas. I just want to do something fun. And to me, fun would have been like a 16 kilo and going really fast,
Yeah.
something like that. I didn't suggest anything, and he said 24 kilos. And I said 5 minutes, right? And he's like, "We'll see." Like, what?
Who's your coach? Who's coaching you right now?
Sergey Rudnev.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Like that explains everything.
yeah, that's on brand.
It's on brand. It is
That
on
is
brand.
that is very much on brand. Yes, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, we'll see.
that's a cute suggestion. Oh, you wanted to go fast with the 16. How about the 24? 5 minutes? We'll see.
5 minutes? Yeah, we'll see how it is. And I'm like,
Yeah,
there's no way
yeah.
he's letting me do 5 minutes.
No, I don't think Sergey believes in 5 minute sets.
No, it's not a real time.
Yeah, that is the very Russian perspective on 5 minute sets. It's not kettlebell sport. That's a different sport. That's not kettlebell sport.
Exactly. It's a practice set.
So was Sergey the one that got you started on jerk, or was that your did he push you towards biathlon or suggest it to you, or was that your goal when you came in? You're like, I don't want to just do snatch only anymore. I want to start doing biathlon.
Yeah. So before Sergey, I was working with Lisa Patelkilla,
Okay.
and I just did snatch with her, and she's an expert at snatch, and I was doing snatch for many years, and then she's not coaching anymore. So it seemed natural that I would go to her coach. And I'd met Sergey when he came to Canada, and I had done his back in 2019. He came to Canada and did like his certifications, like his level 1 and 2 coach certifications. So I'd met him there, and I've already been like learning his methods and everything. So when I went to him, I was thinking at that time, I'm either going heavier in snatch or I'm going to biathlon, right? Like I couldn't stay at 16 anymore.
Yeah.
And I like biathlon a lot, even though the jerks was a long, painful struggle for me. Like I said, it took
That
me a
sounds like
very,
jerks in a nutshell. It's a long, painful struggle.
yeah, like my overhead mobility. I always thought I had good overhead mobility, but it's come a long way because I've had a very hard time getting those kettlebells straight overhead, and they're still not perfect. But it's getting there. It gets better all the time. So that was my big thing. Like, so I'm like, I'm going to go to biathlon. Now that I'm doing it, I don't want to go back to snatch only.
Mm,
It's much easier on my forearms, just having a different lift to work on.
yeah.
It's making me a lot stronger. Just all my overhead strength in general. My shoulders are getting a lot more toned. I feel like my overhead, like my pressing strength is a lot better, like after years of doing this. So I really like what it's doing for me. I like training it, even though it sucks for 10 minutes. So I think I'm going to stick with biathlon, although I will do probably a 24 kilo snatch before I do 24 kilo biathlon.
Can I interest you in triathlon?
I have really short legs. And
How tall are you?
I'm 5'4".
Okay.
But if I stand next to someone who's 5 foot nothing, we have the same legs.
I I can very much relate to that problem. I am 6 foot, 6 foot nothing. Like I'm 6 foot even. I have like a 30 to 31 inch inseam. So like I'm supposed to have a 34 inch inseam. I'm like 60% torso. So
Yeah,
I do understand the proportions problem. Obviously at 6 foot, like I have long enough legs still to be able to do long cycle double bell without any issue. I think you're alluding to the short legs, short girl problems of it's hard to pass double bells on long cycle when
that's it.
you have the short legs. Okay.
I've done a couple long cycle comps just for fun. But I definitely have to do like the big step out and step back in every time
Okay.
because there's no way I can jerk with my legs like almost in splits there.
Yeah. Have you tried the Pro Kettlebell Atlas bells?
Uh, I've tried them, not in a comp though.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know if the Atlas bells are allowed in comps yet. But I love that because the Apollos are they're ones that are closest to the regular kettlebell
Yeah.
kings or Urals or whatever other other designs. But the Atlas ones are even like 20 to 30% smaller than even the
Hmm.
Apollos, and that's the one for people that have short leg problems. I'm like, oh, try these ones because they're much smaller. You can pass them between your legs a lot easier. And I've had a lot of people be like, oh my god, these are amazing. Now we just have to get the rules to allow men's and women's to have men and women size different bells, right? That would be uh, that
Yeah.
would that would be useful, I think. But c'est la vie. That's a that's a hill I'm gonna have to fight up, I think, for quite a while before that will be a thing. But
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point though, but it's you get used to these kettlebells, and I find in North America we have these nice ones, like even the nice kettlebell kings hollow ones.
yeah.
And when you're jerking with those, like the weight's right up by the handle. When you go to Worlds, they don't have those. Like they're solid and the weight's on the back end. Um, for 16 kilos and lighter, I don't feel it that much. But like when it gets heavier, I've heard it more so when you get into 24,
Yeah.
you really feel that weight pulling outwards. So
Yeah,
it's
those that center of gravity matters, right? That center
mhm,
of gravity being towards the bottom of the bell when you're trying to be in rack position
mhm.
and those things are trying to pull you apart. Like, yeah, that can definitely make a big difference. You're not the only person I've heard mention how slippery the handles were. Was it because the bell handles were just like brand new? Like, did they just get like brand new bells fresh out of the packaging and they weren't like stripped of the seal coating, or was it just a like hot and slippery type of environment?
That was the case last year. There was brand new bells, and it was, I don't know if you know anyone. Yeah, you have students that went to
Oh yeah,
Hungary, and
yeah.
it was 40 degrees, and it was a beautiful venue. We had AC. The bells weren't
That's
brand
40
new.
Celsius. That's 40 Celsius, right?
Of
Like,
course, 40
yeah,
Celsius. I don't know Fahrenheit, 40 Celsius.
yeah. That for
um,
well, for us Minnesotans, we're like, oh, 40 degrees Fahrenheit. That sounds lovely. Like, oh,
no, no, it was
nice and
very
chilly. We're
hot.
lifting in the meat locker.
This year wasn't that, but it was, I don't know. They just weren't. I don't know what it was. They were just smooth. Like I had like you have someone helping you chalk the bells, and I'm like I
Mhm.
want to chalk my own bell, but I got my assistant. I'm like just take this really rough sandpaper and just sand the crap out of that handle.
Yeah,
Like I need it to. I need the chalk to stick to this thing.
yeah, yeah. That is that the I really try and foster the like any bells, any platform, any day, anywhere kind of attitude because that's what you need to be successful. But
Mhm.
there is no denying that like it is disconcerting when you're like, especially when you've put in like a 12-month training cycle to peak at this time and and you're like, what the fuck are these bells? Right? Like you're like these feel so weird. They sit on the wrong place in my hands. The handles feel weird. The center of
Yep.
gravity feels weird. And like that shit can get in your head like
Mm-hmm.
that can really spin you out because it does feel it feels really weird. How do you go about combating that like in the moment when you're there and you first put hands on bells like how do you go about dealing with that situation?
Oh, that's a tough one. I mean, you need to deal with it before you're on the platform, right? So, I mean, Worlds is the only one where you're not going to be able to touch the bell before you lift. But in a normal world, you can practice with your bell beforehand, and it's fine. I mean, I've learned to do things like chalking my forearms all the way up. So if you're snatching or something and the bell gets caught on a weird spot, it doesn't stick there. You know what I mean?
No,
I've had
but
that too,
I'm
or like
tell
my
me
hand
more.
doesn't,
I'm
yeah,
learning.
or snatching and my hand doesn't make it all the way through the bell.
Ah, okay.
That's
Yep. Yep.
alarming when that happens in
Yeah.
competition and you go to
Yeah, for
snatch
sure.
and it just doesn't go in. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Or it goes in too far.
Yeah,
Um,
both of those are, I mean, the former is worse for me than the latter. Like if it I mean, I don't usually have the problem of it going in too far because I have, meat hook hands and, ham hock forearms, but like if you don't get it all the way in and you're like, "Oh God, I caught that one shallow." Like I have so many like old wrist injuries from playing football that like if I
mm,
catch, especially if I'm north of 24 kilos, if I catch one bad,
yeah,
it
you
can
can't.
it can like it can like not end my set, but it can completely derail my set. Like one bad insertion on a 28 kg, and I'm like, I fall apart.
it's hard to recover from, because then you come down and you're grabbing it in the wrong spot and everything's off. But I mean, you just need to like take it one rep at a time, right? Like you breathe, you try again, try to fix it, and just don't panic about it, right? Like it's all about just keeping that, you keep your rhythm. You breathe, you keep the rhythm, and you just don't stop doing that no matter what happens.
I think that's a pretty good, yeah, just keep breathing, just keep lifting.
Just keep
Right?
doing
Like,
it. It's
yeah.
just fine. It's fine. Don't fret about it. It's whatever. Just keep going.
Yeah, I mean, that is one of the, especially with snatch, like one of the nice things is like, hey, your next rep is only like a second and a half away. So like just let that one go and move on to the next one and try and get it right on the next one. So
Mhm.
so now how did Team Canada do writ large? It sounds like you had a pretty decent performance, not up to the standard that you were hoping to achieve, but given all the challenging circumstances that Worlds always presents for athletes, it sounds like you did pretty well. How did Team Canada do as a team?
Oh, I should have this memorized. We did pretty well, considering we had 9 people. Um, I think Heather and I were the only ones lifting elite. Um,
It
we had
sounds
nine
right.
people. Oh, geez. Do you know what ranking we had?
I
Was it?
don't. I don't.
We were in the top 10. I know that, out of 30 teams, which is pretty good for how small we were.
Yeah, for that's a small but mighty performance for 9 people
Yeah,
to finish in the top 10.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
excellent.
yeah, yeah. So it was pretty good.
Was there any
Um,
was there anybody's performance that you were like, we'll start from Team Canada. Was there anybody that you were like, hell yeah, they fucking crushed it? Like there was
everyone crushed it. Everyone crushed it. It was awesome. My team from Ottawa, there was 5 of us. So like Jeff and Jackie. And so Jeff and I coached the team together here in Ottawa. We have National Capital Kettlebell Club. Jackie is Jeff's wife. She's an honorary member of our team, though she works out at home. And then we only had 2 members able to come out with us today. So we had Gail and Celeste, and they crushed it. And I knew they were going to crush it. And like our goal was to get them all to have world records. So you've probably met them before, but they're both in the 65 to 75 age category.
yeah.
And we want to get them, like, we want to get all the world records in that category. My team is all in that category. There's 4 of them, and we're all in that age category. So we're trying to get them to do different lifts in different weight categories so that they can all get one. So we knew Gail was taking biathlon because she got something crazy. She gets like 140 jerks when she goes
Yeah,
up.
yeah, her numbers are just stupid. Like
Yeah,
it's great. I love it. I
she's
love it.
very intense. I love it. But Celeste is very, very good at snatch. Um, so Gail took the biathlon, and Celeste did snatch only after her biathlon set. So she did 200 snatches with her biathlon set, then did another 200 in her snatch only, which I thought was
Wow.
awesome. She had
That's
to have little gauze
that's
mittens
impressive.
after that, but she did it. Yeah, so very proud of them. That was Jeff's first WKSF. I think he did IUKL a few years ago before then, but he brought home a gold and a silver.
Nice.
Jackie medaled too. Pam brought home a bunch of medals.
Yeah,
She's
Pam set a national record. It looked
Mhm.
like too. I saw a post on Facebook earlier this week. It looked like she
Yep.
set a
I think
national.
everyone got records except for me, actually, which is, I'm like, then I looked at what I needed to get records. I'm like, well, that's not happening.
I promise I didn't bring you on here to rub salt in any wounds. I really like I thought your performance was really good. I didn't
I mean,
it
you're not
wasn't
going to
I,
get a record your first year doing elite, right? It's fine. But yeah, Jeff got records and he got gold and silver. And then Heather did awesome. Heather's a beast, so she did awesome.
Heather's a machine. She crushed it. She crushed it here at my competition last year and got master of sport. And
Yes.
I was all like, yeah, like she got a master of sport set, and I thought it was like a big fucking deal because anytime somebody gets master of sport, like I am.
Yeah.
And she's like, yeah, I already have master in that lift, so it wasn't really that big of a deal. I'm not that excited about it. She missed it in the other lift that she was going for, so she was actually really disappointed. So there was like a huge delta with how excited I was. I'm coming in with my Tommy boy energy, and she's like, yeah, it wasn't my best performance, but like like, oh, I can just, throw up a master of sport set on any given time. But like, I guess that's why you're master of sport. That's why it's a lifetime rank, right? Like, is
Yeah.
once you've hit it, like, that you're capable of it and you can do it pretty consistently. So
Hmm.
that's fantastic. All right, I want to pivot a little bit. So we did this in a different order than I usually do.
Yeah.
I usually jump in on people's history, but now since we've debriefed a little bit on how WKSF went, I'm curious, how did you get into this crazy sport? Like, what is your athletic background growing up, and how did you get into kettlebell sport?
Yeah. It's I'll tell you the story and you're gonna be like, yes, this woman was gonna end up here for sure. So I've always been a gym junkie. Uh, as far as I can remember, I don't know. And it was always like for me, it wasn't like a losing weight thing or anything like that. It was always like I like how it makes me feel. And I used to be like insomniac in high school, and I noticed like when I started playing sports that I slept well. And then
Mm,
after like I wasn't playing, I was never good at sports, but so like I started going to the gym. And then I like wanted to keep going because like I didn't want to get back into that pattern of not being able to sleep if I don't like expend my energy.
yeah.
So I would do things like group fitness classes, which turned into like going to like a small boutique gym, which did like Olympic lifting and a little bit of kettlebells, um, which turned into CrossFit. Eventually, I graduated up to that, and I was doing CrossFit every day for several years. And
Every
I
day,
always loved
every day, no off days, huh? Just like every day
maybe
you're.
maybe not the weekends. The weekends I would go to another gym and do kettlebell classes.
Oh, okay. So you were taking a rest, or taking a rest day by doing kettlebell classes. You
Yeah.
sound both like a kettlebell athlete and a CrossFit athlete.
Oh my gosh. I have volume problems.
What should I do on my rest days, coach? Uh, wait, is that a trick question? I think you should rest. I get that question all the time. What should I do on my rest days? I don't know. Fucking rest.
I've been doing Bikram yoga on my rest days, and I'm being told that's not resting. I'm like, come on. 90 minutes of yoga. What do you want? Like
90
every
minutes
other
of yoga in
pose.
a 90 and what a 40 degree Celsius room, right? Like, okay. I guess you'll be acclimated.
Anyways, in part of my I was also going to this big box gym because it's like CrossFit's great, but it's not like you do the classes every day. But I also want to do my own thing, so I had a membership at that gym, and I would also do classes there, especially like things like spin class. I've been a spin class junkie for well over 10 years. And they did kettlebell classes there. And that's where I fell in love with it. So my Saturday morning kettlebell class, I was always there and I loved it. And for me, it was a big thing from like coming from barbell and doing kind of like the Olympic lifting type thing. I do have a stronger right hand from playing baseball for years, and I was a pitcher. And it's a little bit today, but I definitely before you could see the muscles on my right were much stronger than my left. My left was all discoordinated. So I really liked in kettlebells that it was one hand at a time and it was focused, but it was fun. Like it was such a fun class. Like it was so creative.
And
And
was
like
it was it like fitness style? Was it flow?
yeah,
Okay, it was more fitness style. Not
yeah.
you didn't like stumble on the one random kettlebell sport class at the
I
at the.
did not. No. And
Okay.
it was a big gym. It was like, big classes, but we'd still do Turkish get-ups and we'd do snatches and we'd do cleans and he taught us well. And so I started doing that. And then I started doing that 3 times a week because on Saturday, then they added Tuesday, Thursday. So I'd go to the 3 and I would still do CrossFit. So I did CrossFit and then I would drive to the kettlebells and I would do my kettlebell class and then I would shower and go to work.
How many
Um,
how many how many workouts were you doing a week at this point? Like
I don't want to count them.
I'm noticing a pattern. Not an
I,
unfamiliar one. I've seen this pattern before, but
I know. That's why I'm like this girl was gonna end up doing kettlebell sport. And I would do like adult gymnastics as well, which I still love. I wish I had time to do that. It all fed into the same thing, but then I was doing that. I really love this kettlebell class. Like I could not get enough of it. Like I wanted to do this thing 7 days a week. And then I was just Googling like kettlebell classes in Ottawa because I also wanted to learn from different people. So like I had two coaches at this big gym that I liked and they had different classes, but I liked them both and they kind of like gave different things. And I was like, who else is doing this? Like, who else can I learn from? What else is happening? So I Googled it. And that's where I came across Lisa Patel, and she had something called Kettlebell Boot Camp, and it was kind of close to where I was. So I emailed her and said, "Can I buy like a 10 class pass to your gym. So I started going to her class, and she was working out with the ladies that I'm with today, a few other people, and Jeff was one of her students as well. And they would do a sport set, a rest, and then GPP. And that was the class. And so we're doing this, and I was like, oh my God. Like, I think my first class, Lisa gave me like an 8-kilo bell and told me to do 7 minutes of snatch. And I was like, are you insane? Like, I've never done, like, I've done lots of swings and lots of different things, but it was always like strength based, like very like, nothing endurance like that. But I mean, I did it and I liked it. And they were all talking about a competition coming up, and they were all talking about it and planning it and doing their lifts. And I was like, well, I'm feeling left out. Like, I want to do this competition too. And it was in 3 weeks from that time. And Lisa takes a big sigh, and she goes, if you come to every class, because I was only going once a week to her class because I was doing all those other things too. Yeah. And it worked out because Lisa's classes were Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And my other kettlebell classes were Tuesday, Thursday. And then CrossFit was every day. So everything fit. And then, and then she's like, okay, you can come.
We're up to 17 workouts a week for those of you doing the maths at home.
I would take rest as I would never skip the kettlebell classes, but I would skip CrossFit when I needed a rest day, but never kettlebell. And so I did that. I did the 3 weeks with the 3 classes a week to prepare me for the comp. And I did 8-kilo snatch and 8-kilo 2-arm long cycle. And I was like addicted to it. I'm like, I'm doing this all the time now.
This is who I live here now. This is who I am.
This is me. This is now my identity.
I'm going to take this completely odd hobby and turn it into my complete identity. I don't know who would do such a thing.
Oh my gosh, it was awful too. I always tell people when they're learning, I'm like, my first competition with the 8 hurt more than any competition I've ever done with a 16-kilo, with a 20-kilo, maybe not the 24. But I was in so much pain. And I look back at the video of me snatching, and it's all arm. And I muscle snatched that thing 197 times.
Oh my God.
It messed up my neck and my forearms and everything. And I was like,
I bet your trap and your lat were really happy with you after that maximum effort.
Yeah. It was fun though. I mean, I learned quickly. And then like, it wasn't long after that like Sergey came to Canada, and then like I learned all his technique and all his like very, very detailed.
What's the years on it? Like timestamp this a little bit for
me. 2018, December 2018 was my first competition.
Okay.
And then by that summer, the following summer was my first time with 16s.
Okay. I was going to say you're still relatively new at this, and then I realized, no, wait, that was 6 years ago.
I know, it's crazy. I
don't count the COVID years though. I feel like mentally, it's like we just skipped those years. So it's like, oh, you've only been doing this for like 4 years. No, those years still happened. I just blacked them out.
Mm-hmm. So fast forward to today. I don't do CrossFit anymore. I stopped that. I think when I got into the 16-kilo bells was when I had to stop doing the other stuff.
Yeah. The volume demands just get too much once you get to those like competitive weights relative to your body weight, right? That's exactly what I always tell people. It's like for me, 16 kilos, I could do 16 kilos and CrossFit. Like I wouldn't, but like I could because that's relative to my body weight. That's not that crazy a volume from a kettlebell perspective. But like for you, 16 kilos is pretty significant proportion of your body weight, like almost half of your body weight, like when you're doing doubles.
Yeah. Exactly. So, and it did get to be too much. Surprise. But like fast forward to today, the instructors I had at that big gym don't teach anymore. They don't teach kettlebell anymore, maybe at least not in that big setting. So I applied to work at that gym, and now I teach those classes. So I teach like Saturday kettlebell at that gym, and I love it because it's like exactly where I got addicted to it. Right. And I see people and they get hooked, like
full circle. Now you're the dealer.
Full circle. Now I'm the dealer. So like sign up happens like Monday at noon, 12:01. The class is full, 30 people, and like they come in and they're awesome and they love it. And like they don't like me taking videos there and stuff, but I wish I could show you like a video of this class, like swinging and snatching and stuff. Like it's impressive. And a few of them too were like with me when I was doing it too. They've been doing it for quite a while. So I do that twice a week. I teach there. And then I started doing like kettlebells in the park for the summer. So I just rent out a park, and then I can bring all my competition bells. So I got all the
And then
diehards.
and then you get people going, wait, what are these bells? What is this all about? And you're like,
They
oh,
love
the
the, yeah,
first one is free. Let me
yeah, exactly.
let me
Totally,
let me
totally
tell you.
peddling this stuff, eh? Um, Even like we're not allowed to use chalk at that gym too. So even like the introduction of chalk, they're like, oh my God, this is so much better. I'm like, I know. This is because they don't understand how I'm lifting, 20 kilos. I'm like, you don't understand, like it's different. But then I can do that. So I'm hoping to get a few of them. Like I probably have 10 of them that could compete if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Maybe three of them will. I don't think they all want to. But either way, they're all doing a 10-minute set this summer, right? Like we can record it and submit it. They can come to Oakville with me. Either
You're
way.
like, by the way, you just finished your first kettlebell competition. You just didn't know it. I just
Yeah.
prescribed it as part of the group fitness class. Wink.
100% what's going to happen. Um, that's fine. They're all ready, right? Like they've been
Yeah.
doing it for long enough.
There are a few things cool. Like I wish I could see a video of a 30-person class, because I used to do group fitness classes back in Chicago too, and it was kettlebell classes. And, like there are a few things cooler than having like a room full of people all doing kettlebell together. Like seeing
It's
a group fitness class full of people doing kettlebell stuff is awesome. And then for us kettlebell sport nerds, like seeing them all doing
good form.
kettlebell
Yes.
sport movements, you're like, this is amazing. And they tend to synchronize over time too. Like if you do
Yeah.
long sets, that's always the fun thing too. Like you see like a group of 30 people, they start off all being on like different beats, and like some people are on the 1 and the 3, some are on the 2 and the 4, and then like over the course of minutes, like suddenly the breathing starts to like synchronize and the patterns start to synchronize. It's so cool. Like we're such communal tribal animals, whether we realize it or not. Like it's cool as the instructor to just kind of sit back and see that kind of happen.
Yeah, it is fun, and it's fun to see them like get hooked on it too. And I'll tell you something particularly nasty I did to them. Just speaking of the sports set. So like I teach Tuesday morning at 6 a.m. So it tends to be a smaller group. So I kind of get like a smaller, more dedicated group, and we have less people, which means I can do doubles. But you've taught fitness classes before, so you know the Sally Up song, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Bring Sally up.
And usually you do it with like squats, but I made them do it with jerks.
Oh yeah. Oh,
So I tricked them into doing like a 3 minute and 30-second jerk set, but that was all synchronized, right? Because like bring Sally up, we all got to come up.
yep.
Yeah,
That's
and
great.
they all agreed. The worst part of that was just holding it in rack, right? Because they've never done that before, and I'm like, there's value to holding it in rack.
There is a very specific isometric demand there that if you have not trained it, that is actually one of the things that is like in part of my, I call it my break-in phase when I've got a new athlete, right? Like you don't just want to, I mean, you might just want to throw them into the deep end, but you don't, so like you have them do rack holds, and they're like, why I'm just gonna hold these for a minute. I'm like, yeah, you're just gonna hold them for a minute, only a minute. Tell me again at 30 seconds why that it's only a minute. Like it's a very specific requirement.
Exactly.
So
Anyway, so that to say, I'm teaching all those classes now, and I teach spin right afterwards too. So I'm still getting it's like getting paid to do cardio. It's awesome.
that's
So
awesome.
kettlebells, and I have about half the class comes and does my spin class with me too. So it's a nice little group.
These are your people. You
Yeah.
you've attracted your tribe. That's fantastic. So where does the Capital City Kettlebell Club fit into to all of this madness?
So they're my Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So Jeff and I do that one together. So Lisa's retired from coaching, and she passed it on to me and Jeff. We were her students previously.
Okay.
And so it's tough for us because like that's our lifting time too, because we
Yeah.
were in that class, and like we need to also do our thing. So we split it up. So one week I do Monday, Friday, and Jeff does Wednesday. And then the next week I do Wednesday, he does Monday, Friday. And then it's easy if I have an 8 a.m. meeting or something, I have someone who's can always sub for me, which is like what you need with that kind of thing. So it's very nice that we're able to like switch it back and forth like that. And so I get there at 6 and I do my workout, and ladies get there at 7. Either I'm teaching the class or I'm working out with them. So we just go back and forth.
Nice. And why is
Mhm.
it called the Capital City Kettlebell Club for those of us ethnocentric Americans that don't know anything about Canada?
Because we're in Ottawa,
Oh, I
which is
thought
the
Toronto
capital.
was the capital of Canada.
No,
I'm
Toronto's the
kidding.
capital
I'm
of
kidding.
Ontario, and Ottawa is the capital of Canada. So we've got like the Parliament buildings on the kettlebell on our shirt.
I love your guys' logo. I do know these things. I know Jeff and like
Yeah.
I just it's always a fun way to put a coin in somebody from Ottawa when you're like, oh, I thought Toronto was the capital of Canada. And they're like, oh, you know, because there are plenty of Americans that do believe that.
I think
Don't
there's Canadians that believe that, to be fair. So
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I just I find Americans to be especially ethnocentric. We don't pay attention to anything going outside of our borders, but that's neither here nor there. I digress.
it's okay. Ottawa's small. We're a small place here.
I need honestly I need to get up there. I've never been to Ottawa. I had Dave on and I've hung out with Dave a couple of times at Riddlestruck
Mhm.
and I love the crew from Ottawa. I got to get up there for a comp. I got to get up there for one of the comps this.
For his January comp.
Well, no, I said a comp. I didn't say I was coming to I didn't say I was coming to Ottawa in January. Like I already live in Minnesota in January. Like I don't need to go somewhere colder. But that's maybe it wouldn't even be colder. I don't know, but like
It'll be snowier. I'll give you that. It'll be snowier.
if I'm traveling in January out of Minnesota, I'm going to Cali or I'm going south. I'm going somewhere warmer. I'm just putting it out there. Like it's probably not going to be a January. No,
That's fair.
so now if you're given new advice or if you're giving advice to a new athlete, what would be your one piece of advice if you could only give them one piece of advice to somebody that's starting brand new?
Um, I say go light and focus on technique and build the weight and volume over time.
Okay.
And I find uh, it's very hard to get young, strong men to listen to that advice because they want to go right to the 24s. And I say, no, no, no. And especially if they see me lifting and they go, well, don't
Why
you
are
lift
you
in the 20?
attacking my 25-year-old self?
It's what you did. And
It's
like the women never do
absolutely what
that.
I did.
And it's both my classes. I mean, obviously my class in Ottawa, my sport team, but they're all older ladies, and they were in no rush to go heavy, and they focus on it. They focus on the basics, and they can compete with 12s and 16s, right? Like they can do it.
Yeah.
They have to do eights for worlds, but like it's just slowly over time in the patience, right? Like you don't go up until you're ready, and then you do it right. I did 2 or 3 competitions with the eights until I went to 12s, and then I went to 16s. Like it's a natural progression. And if I was to go right to 16s, I would have got really discouraged, right? Like, and I would have hurt my forearms, and it would have been really frustrating. But it's a great feeling just killing it with a smaller weight. And I always tell people like, there's nothing there's nothing wrong with going lighter. You just go faster. You're going to get a great workout. You're going to get stronger, and you're going to get better. You just do more reps, right?
Your technique will get better faster by doing
Yeah.
more reps too. That's the other piece of I think that's one thing about going lighter that people don't put enough value behind is like
Mhm.
acquiring technical skill in any complex movement requires a lot of repetitions. And
Yeah.
when you go too heavy, you actually put a governor on your ability to progress rapidly because you're just not getting as many attempted reps. Now, obviously, there's some trade-offs. Like if you're too strong for the weight that you're trying to manipulate, then your
Mhm.
technique doesn't necessarily get better. But like once you're at the appropriately challenging weight, trying to go fast will get you better a lot faster than going too heavy and having to cut your pace in half, right? Like I think
Yeah.
that's underappreciated aspect of starting lighter.
Yeah. And if anyone doing kettlebell sport, I always definitely say work with a coach. Um, I think you have to.
You cheated. You went with two. You gave me two. No, they're
I
both
mean, it's what the
good
coach is going to
answers.
tell you anyways. But yeah.
So it's work with a coach so that they can manage your progression and volume at an appropriate rate. That's
Yeah,
we'll
it's
just
it's
amalgamate the two.
complicated, right? Like you want to set someone up for success, right? Like you want to do your first competition, and you want to like you want to do awesome, right? Like you want to get off that platform with a feeling like, oh, I got this. Like that's what gets you hooked to it, right? So when people are starting, I would air them on the later side. Like I want to make sure you can do the 10 minutes. I want to make sure you feel good about it and you want to come back, right?
Build on success. Yeah. Get some quick wins and build on success, because that's what will keep them coming back. I 100%
Exactly.
agree with that. All right, and
Mhm.
I have another question, and this you're the first person I'm asking this question to, but I think I'm going to make this one a recurring one, because the mission we revised the mission statement of my club is becoming our best selves through sport, and you
Love
seem
it.
like somebody who generally feels like kettlebell sport has made you and fitness in general has made you a better human being. So, what would you say the best benefit you've gotten for yourself from sport?
I mean, like I told you my journey, right? But it's like it took everything I was doing and focused it on a goal, right? Because I was doing all this stuff, but like, why was I doing it, right? Like what was I accomplishing? Was I getting stronger? Yeah, but like, I spread in too many directions, doing too many things, but it really just gave me like a target and a goal and something to like focus on and something to like work towards. I mean, I'm a very goal oriented person. I'm very, I think it's just my personality, but, and because of that, like, it gets me hooked on it. Like you give me something, you give me a challenge and I suck at it, like I'm going to be hyper fixated on getting good at that thing, right? So I think that's what kettlebells have been for me, and sport. It's the community. It's I love training for it. Even if we didn't have the competitions, like I don't know why I love these sets and the like the repetition of it. Like
Yeah.
I'm not sure why I like it so much, but it's just very like I know Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday I'm doing my thing. I kind of know what it's going to be, and every week it gets a little bit harder. It doesn't feel like it. Like every week it just gets a little bit more, a little bit harder. And all of a sudden I'm like, holy crap, look what I'm doing. Like, where'd this come from? Like, it's just such a good feeling.
I love that point about that. Even if you didn't have the comps, you would still do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, that shows a level of mastery mindset. Because that's like, you have to fall in love with the process. If it's all about the outcome, you'll take shortcuts, or you'll try and go too fast. You'll try, if because you're like, oh, I got to get to my next rank. I got to get to my, like, if you're looking for that external validation of like, oh, I need to be master of sport and I need to do it by the time I'm, whatever,
Yeah.
45, right? Like you set a goal for yourself and you're like, I want to be master sport by the time I'm 45. Like, well, then what happens when you achieve that, or if you don't achieve that? But like, if you focus on the process and you're just like, yeah, I would still do this, even if there were no competitions, even if there were no ranking tables. I just love the process. I love what it brings to my life. Like, that to me is the mastery mindset. It's just like, I'm gonna keep showing up. I'm gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna keep getting better at it, because it makes me better in whatever. For you, it's clarity. It sounds like it focuses you and gives you like a clarity of focus that maybe you didn't have before. But like,
Mm.
it's different for everybody. But like, that's the, I don't know, I really enjoyed that answer, because that's I think that's what it reminds me of, is like, you have a mindset that reflects pursuit of mastery regardless of external validation.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And like I know what my numbers are, and it's such a good feeling. Like I can remember not being able to jerk the 20s. Like I picked them up and I was like, oh my God, these are heavy. I'm never getting them overhead. And I did one. And I
And
don't
now
know
you were
what
disappointed that you didn't do 90 in 10 minutes.
exactly. And that was like a year ago. Like it wasn't that long ago. You know what I mean? Like it just sneaks up on you. Like I just can't even describe it. Just it comes out of nowhere.
Incremental progress accumulated over time with
That's it.
consistency. Love it.
Exactly. That's it. That's
That's
it.
fantastic. Well, Val, thank you so much. And when you do achieve Master of Sport, I will bring all of the Tommy Boy energy that I brought to Heather's to Heather's as well. But I'll be so stoked for you, because I know you're gonna get there. I know you're gonna. Having had this conversation, I know you're gonna get there. It's just a matter of time. So
Yeah. And I'm
I
patient
can't
and
wait to see
I'm
it.
gonna get there. Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank
Well,
you. Thank you so
thank you
much.
so much for coming on. How do people follow you? How do they get at you if they want to work with you as a coach, or if they're in they're in OG and they want to connect with you, come take one of your classes, or whatever. How do they follow you? How do they get at you?
Yeah, yeah. So probably the easiest place is on Instagram because I have a public account. So it's just my name. I don't have anything creative there, just Val Rusk, VALRUSK. And I post whatever there. I our club is a little bit private right now. We're not advertising anywhere, but if you send me a message, I will let you in for a class. So I have, I have class packs and whatnot. We're
You
just
got to
not out
reach
there
out to
right
the
now.
person to get on the list. She's keep creating scarcity.
Yeah.
You got to be a cool kid to get into her
So
club. I
it's a
love it.
private club.
It's a
We're
private club, members only.
yeah, we're working on that.
Very fancy.
Mhm.
Love
But
it.
that's the best way. And like, we would love to have more people. Like, I love getting people hooked on this thing. So we're in Ottawa. We lift 7 7 to 8 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I also have my bells in the park if you want something in the afternoon, which is rare for me, by the way. This is People have been asking me
For
to do
now,
an
until you get
evening
ready to
class.
go to Worlds again, then it's going to be
Yeah, yeah,
regular.
I know, I know. I was very resistant to do an evening class, but I'm doing 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. in Sandy Hill Community Center Park in Ottawa. And that one, I just do a pay what you can. I recommend $15, but I don't want anyone to not come because it's not in their budget, especially because I normally teach at a gym where it's free for everyone. It's more of just to cover the cost of me renting the park. But we're usually 5 people. I have about 10 that come out, but I would love to have more people come out to that thing. It's been on hiatus because I've been in Poland, of course, but we're starting up and then we're going to go all through the summer. So if you're interested in that or anything else, yeah, find me on Instagram and I'll give you the details.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Val. I really appreciate it. This is a lot of fun, and thanks for
Yeah.
coming. We'll talk soon.
Yeah. See you around. Thank you. Bye.